New tonight, Fox News has learned the White House conducted a so-called murder board with Judge Kavanaugh Tuesday, trying to prepare him for Monday's hearing, if there is one. So let's bring in President Trump's personal attorney, Jay Sekulow, to talk about this whole process. Good to have you, Jay.
Sure, thanks, Henry.
That reporting is from our John Roberts. Anything you can tell us about that?
Well, look, I'm not participating in that. That's not my job as the president's private lawyer. But Brett Kavanaugh is a very bright guy, very good judge, very smart lawyer, and I'm sure he'll be prepared. Look, I think that what the president said is absolutely correct here. You have to, the allegation's been made, but it is the Senate's role. I mean, people are conflating that as if the Senate doesn't have investigative authority, which they clearly do. So the president under the Constitution nominates, and the Senate's role is advice and consent. That means they conduct a hearing, as they're going to do, and they determine whether the veracity of which witness, if in fact it goes to that. We'll see. I mean, her lawyer, Dr. Ford's lawyer today said probably not, wants preconditions. Again, I don't think you can conflate the role of the Senate here. They have a distinct constitutional function. And your previous guests just were talking about that. But there's a distinct constitutional function. This idea that there's no investigative authority with the Senate is ridiculous.
Well, let me ask you this, because I hear a lot of misinformation about this process, about the Senate's role, the FBI, about who has investigators, who doesn't. Do you think it's purposeful, or do you think it's people are misinformed? Because some of these people are members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and you have to think they know better.
Well, they do know better, because not only is the Constitution clear, the rules of the Senate are clear. So, I mean, you have to look at here's what you have. All of a sudden, the Senate, who conducts hearings all the time, my goodness, they have been conducting a lot of hearings over the last year, right? I mean, a tremendous amount of investigative hearing, calling in witnesses, depositions. All of a sudden, now they don't have investigative authority? I mean, this is where it's getting skewed. And this is a situation where, look, there's been an allegation. You evaluate the allegation. At the end of the day, it's the Senate Judiciary Committee that's going to determine whether Brett Kavanaugh goes to the floor of the Senate or not. That's their function. That's their role. They set the rules. They are providing an opportunity for Dr. Ford, who's made this allegation, to put it forward. Her lawyers will give her the appropriate advice.
Okay, this is what Senator Doug Jones, Democrat out of Alabama, had to say.
But let me tell you something. I'm just absolutely stunned at why why the Republicans and the president is opposed to letting the FBI do what the FBI has done for decades, and that is background checks on nominees. It is not unusual at all.
Is the president opposed to letting the FBI do its job?
Look, I don't speak for the president, but let's talk about what the FBI's job is. They do background checks. So this is now public. So the FBI has no jurisdiction over this kind of. Let's assume for the sake of this discussion, if there was illegality, and there's no evidence, Dr. Ford said there is, Brett Kavanaugh says there's not. That's not the FBI doesn't investigate that. What do? They do background checks. Now, this information is already public. So I think the appropriate thing to do here is to allow Dr. Ford to have the opportunity to address her allegations in a setting that she's comfortable with, whether it's publicly or privately, under oath, as they all will be. I mean, everybody's a witness here, and to understand that the Senate, and Senator Jones knows this, has investigative authority here. And to say it's got to be the FBI, I think not only is incorrect constitutionally, but in the context of a Supreme Court nomination. I mean, there's a reason that the Constitution says advice and consent of the United States Senate.
Has this become completely politicized? Is it possible to divorce politics, the midterms, the court itself from what we're seeing?
Well, you would wish that if you could just hope that it would be that way, it'd be great. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a world that's divided. It's a free country. People can have different opinions. But you don't like seeing a process like this, for instance, again, with no disrespect to Dr. Ford. If Senator Feinstein had this information, why didn't she send it to the FBI 4 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago? She had it in July, so we're now in September, so 6 weeks ago. Send it to the FBI for an investigation as part of the background check if they thought that was appropriate. Now, they didn't. She did not. There may be reasons that she had not to do it. And Dr. Ford's now come forward, and her lawyer, Dr. Ford's lawyer, is giving her client advice. And she'll probably heed her lawyer's advice.
Well, we'll wait for Monday.
We will.
Because I have a feeling until 9:59, we may not know what's going to happen.
I think that's probably right.
Jay, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.